sat down for a deeply revealing conversation with Nichelle Turner, it was immediately clear that this was not going to be a polite celebrity press tour filled with safe answers. This was a woman fully prepared to stand in the fire of controversy and stay there. With her memoir finally released, she made one thing unmistakably clear. She has no fear of backlash, no hesitation about revisiting old drama, and absolutely no intention of softening her truth for anyone. Calm but unwavering, she explained that every word in the book reflects her personal experience, her emotions, and her perspective on moments that shaped not only her career, but her identity. For someone long known as reality television's most outspoken personality, the message was simple. She said what she said, and she meant every syllable. The memoir dives straight into the explosive years she spent on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, a franchise that transformed her public image forever. According to Rinna, the show wasn't just entertainment, it was an emotional battleground where friendships blurred into rivalries and authenticity often clashed with performance. She openly acknowledges calling out former co-stars, including Garcelle Beauvais, Denise Richards, Hilton, and Sutton Stracke, using language many viewers considered harsh or even shocking. Yet she insists the words were never written for shock value alone. In her view, reality television captures raw human behavior, and her book simply extends that honesty beyond the cameras. She expects reactions, strong ones, but refuses to apologize for expressing feelings she believes were real in those moments. While the headlines focus on the drama, the deeper layers of her memoir reveal something far more vulnerable. Behind the glamorous persona and sharp tongue lies a woman still carrying profound grief. She described the painful process of revisiting the loss of her parents, admitting that recording the audiobook forced her to confront emotions she had buried for years. Reading those chapters aloud, she said, left her sobbing, overwhelmed by memories she had rarely spoken about publicly. The experience reminded her that fame does not shield anyone from loss. If anything, it can make mourning lonelier when the world expects strength instead of sorrow. One of the most emotional revelations comes from her candid discussion about postpartum depression, a chapter she calls both terrifying and necessary. She described the period when hormonal imbalance and emotional exhaustion pushed her into dark mental spaces she barely recognized. Thoughts became intrusive, unpredictable, and frightening. She revealed that at one point she removed knives from her home, not because she intended harm, but because she feared where her mind might go during moments of emotional instability. She spoke openly about experiencing suicidal ideation, describing how the condition crept in gradually, convincing her each day that tomorrow would feel better, until months passed without relief. For 15 long months, she battled silently before realizing she needed professional help. Her honesty serves a purpose beyond storytelling. She hopes women watching or reading will recognize similar feelings and understand they're not alone. She emphasized how shame often prevents women from admitting they're struggling, especially when society paints motherhood as purely joyful. When she finally sought help, it was a turning point. With medical support and treatment, the emotional fog slowly lifted. She credits her husband, Harry Hamlin, for recognizing warning signs and urging her to call a doctor immediately. In her words, having someone who refuses to ignore mental health struggles can be life-saving. The experience reshaped how she views vulnerability, turning what once felt like weakness into a source of strength and advocacy. At 62, Rinna also continues to challenge Hollywood's silence around aging and cosmetic procedures. Rather than hiding enhancements, she openly discusses them, from early lip injections to fillers, Botox, and breast implants. She believes transparency removes unrealistic beauty expectations and helps women feel less pressured to pretend perfection is natural. According to her, honesty about appearance choices allows others to make informed decisions without shame. She even shares advice about menopause and hormone therapy, explaining how addressing physical and emotional changes proactively transformed her energy, sleep, and mental stability. For Rinna, openness about aging is not vanity, it is empowerment. Of course, no conversation with her would be complete without revisiting one of reality television's most infamous moments, the explosive confrontation during a cast trip to Amsterdam. Looking back, she admits the incident was deeply traumatic at the time, despite later becoming internet meme culture. She recalls feeling overwhelmed by anger, claiming she nearly lost control before an internal voice stopped her from escalating the confrontation physically. That pause, she believes, changed everything. Today, she can laugh at the scene's legacy, even rewatching it occasionally as if observing a character rather than reliving her own experience. Distance, she says, transforms chaos into perspective. The memoir also addresses regrets, including her involvement in questioning Yolanda Hadid's health struggles years ago. Rinna admits that discussing the situation publicly was wrong and remains one of her biggest mistakes. She acknowledges how certain narratives can cause lasting harm, especially when amplified through reality television's global audience. Owning that regret, she explains, was essential to writing the book honestly, rather than rewriting history in her favor. Beyond past controversies, she speaks candidly about rumors surrounding her earnings during her time on Bravo. Laughing off speculation that she earned millions per episode, she clarified that such figures were exaggerated myths. Yet she also jokes that returning to the franchise would require an enormous paycheck, a number so high she knows it will likely never happen. The comment reflects a mix of humor and finality, suggesting that while she respects what the show gave her, she feels her chapter there has closed. Interestingly, her recent appearance on The Traitors reminded audiences of her ability to dominate unscripted television. She described the experience as completely different from Housewives, calling it a strategic game rather than an emotional reality experiment. Still, viewers noticed flashes of her iconic intensity, especially during reunion drama that reportedly led to heated exchanges and walk-offs. She hints at unresolved tension, but leaves certain details deliberately mysterious, proving she still understands the power of suspense. Away from television chaos, life has entered a quieter phase. Speaking from her home in Beverly Hills, she reflected on becoming an empty nester and navigating family life after decades in the spotlight. The memoir touches on her daughter's personal challenges, but she intentionally avoids revealing too much, explaining that their stories belong to them alone. She confirmed they were comfortable with what she included, though she admits they hadn't fully read the book at the time, a detail she shares with both humor and nervous honesty. Perhaps the most touching moment comes when she describes her husband reading the manuscript in a single day. She confessed that she was more anxious about his reaction than anyone else's. Watching him move from room to room with the book, quietly absorbing her memories and confessions, felt more vulnerable than facing critics or former co-stars. When he finished and praised it, she felt a wave of relief that validated the emotional risk she had taken in telling her story. Throughout the conversation, one theme remains constant. Rinna refuses to separate the glamorous television personality from the complicated human being underneath. She acknowledges that audiences may love her or hate her, but she insists authenticity matters more than approval. The memoir represents her attempt to reclaim her narrative, not as a villain, hero, or reality TV caricature, but as a woman who lived intensely, made mistakes publicly, and survived moments that nearly broke her privately. What makes her story compelling is not simply the drama or controversy, but the contradictions she embraces. She can be bold and vulnerable, unapologetic yet reflective, humorous while discussing deeply painful memories. That duality explains why she remains such a magnetic figure in entertainment culture. She understands that reality television thrives on emotion, but real life continues long after cameras stop rolling. In the end, her message is less about feuds and more about ownership. Owning mistakes, owning survival, and owning the right to tell one's story without censorship. Whether audiences agree with her or not, she believes transparency sparks conversation, and conversation creates understanding. For Rinna, speaking openly about grief, mental health, aging, and conflict is not controversy for controversy's sake. It's her way of connecting with people who may see parts of themselves reflected in her experiences. As she moves forward, she appears surprisingly at peace with the chaos that once defined her public image. She knows reactions will come, headlines will dissect her words, and former co-stars may respond. But unlike earlier chapters of her career, she seems less concerned with controlling the narrative and more focused on living honestly within it. After decades in Hollywood, she has learned that silence was never her strength. Storytelling was. And this memoir, filled with sharp truths and emotional confessions, may be her most revealing performance yet, not on a stage or a reality show, but in the unfiltered space where celebrity meets humanity.